Here we go, guys. We are back with episode 20 this week of Banter from the Bench podcast. We are going to start by diving into NFL Week 7 recap. We'll obviously make our picks like we do every week for Week 8. NCAA football had some pretty big games this weekend, Georgia and Texas, Tennessee and Bama, so we'll make sure to talk a little bit about college football. World Series matchup. We've got Yankees and Dodgers, so maybe we'll just do what we do and lay some predictions that won't end up hitting. But nonetheless, we've got plenty to dive into, so let's roll.
Soundstripe.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and jump right into it. Seems like this will probably be more of a national heavy episode this week. Got a lot of good stuff to cover. NBA season's underway as well. It's Tuesday night when we're recording this, so NBA season's kicking off, so we'll do some stuff for that too. But like Kevin mentioned, we'll jump right into the NFL, and I think we can skip over the Thursday night amazing matchup of the Broncos and Saints and move into London where the Jacksonville Jaguars picked up their second win of the season, got down a little bit early there in the game. This is an aside from the Jaguars, but, I mean, Drake May continues to look pretty dang good for the Patriots. Had another strong game, but in the end, the Jaguars exploded for 22 points in the second quarter and were able to take down the Patriots 32-16. Jaguars moved to 2-5 on the season. So they got another win. They were the home team in London for 2 weeks. Had to give the home crowd something, Kev.
Turns out people in London really love the Jaguars. Who knew? But I know they've played quite a few games out there, 2 back-to-back weeks this week. But you know, with the exception of like the Jaguars struggling and Drake May starting his rookie campaign, there weren't a ton of storylines here. I mainly turned down the game because I was up early per usual and there was football on, so why not? But yeah, that game was, I mean, somewhat high scoring, so you always appreciate that. But one game that I definitely wanted to tune into, I was able to catch about half of it, was Lions and Vikings. Dude, what a just like clash of two kings of the NFC North right now. Lions obviously are one of the Super Bowl favorites. Vikings are having one hell of a season to start the year. Were you able to watch any of this?
I watched some of it. It was interesting. It was quite a little bit of a back and forth affair. At one point, it seemed like the Lions were going to run away with it. And then the Vikings just, kind of did what they've done all year. And, well, not done all year, but, battled back, playing like the good team that they've played like all year. And ended up being a pretty thrilling game. Lions now moved to 5-1, tied with the Vikings for that record, but Lions got a 3-0, or no, they're just 3-0 on the road. Not sure what their NFC North.
I think that was their first divisional game.
Okay, so I'm guessing for the Vikings, nope, that was their second. So the Vikings would have beaten Green Bay. So, anyways, Lions now probably have sole possession of first place in the NFC North. So, getting a little shake-up, but this was a good the NFC North's been the talk of the NFL, I feel like, for the most part so far this season, and this was a good showing for a heavyweight fight. Both teams came and played well, and fans were treated as some good football because of it, and hopefully a glimpse of what the rest of the NFC North games are going to look like moving forward.
Yeah, dude, the NFC North's really interesting because like the worst team is 4-2, and that's the Bears. But like everybody's storyline going into this year was very different. I mean, you've got the Detroit Lions, one of the Super Bowl favorites. Vikings, with J.J. McCarthy getting hurt, they're like, probably we'll just have a mid-year at best. Packers, like they got a teaser of Jordan Love last year. Will he be able to come back and produce the same type of numbers? He's had an interesting season. But they're still 5-2. And then the Bears with Caleb Williams, obviously there's tons of storylines there. How are they going to do? how's he going to do with all the weapons? So it's been no shortage of stories with the NFC North so far. Speaking of, let's talk about Jordan Love. This guy has had a bit of a roller coaster year. I know last game he had 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think that's 2 games in a row, actually, that he's had 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. He currently has 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, which not ideal this early on. What have you noticed has been going on with Jordan Love?
I haven't watched a ton of the Packers just because I really don't, unless the Bears are playing them. But it's like every game, it's like he has that 3 touchdown, 2 pick performance, 4 touchdown, 2 pick performance. And I mean, he's putting up good numbers overall offensively. Like 15 touchdowns is pretty impressive. But the turnovers are definitely alarming, in my opinion. I feel like, for a team that has playoff and Super Bowl aspirations, you keep turning the ball over like that, it's going to eventually come back to bite you. I don't know. I feel like maybe he's, when he first came back, I kind of chalked that up to he's still a little injured possibly. Felt like they rushed him back, but
Yeah, it did.
I don't know. Some of the clips I've seen of him like throwing, it just seems like he's just, going off his back foot. And like, I guess the best way I can think of to describe it is, he's just making like all these YOLO throws and just kind of, spinning around on his back foot, throwing it up, and it's either going his way or it's not. But I mean, they keep winning games and they keep putting up points. So at the same time too, you can't be too overcritical because it's working. But I would just think that if I were a Packers fan, and believe me, I never would be, never in a million years. But if I were, I think I'd be a little bit concerned about the turnovers, just kind of wondering like, when is this really going to hurt?
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of been an interesting storyline this year. And honestly, the Packers have been too. I didn't expect them to start 5-2, especially once Jordan Love went down. Yeah. They kind of held their own while he was out, but I still don't know what to think of this kid. I mean, yes, he's got 15 touchdowns. When you look at, like, let's say his QBR, for instance, because that's, I guess, just the easiest way to bundle a bunch of statistics together to figure out how good a quarterback is or how good they're playing. He's 14th in the NFL in QBR. That's right around middle of the pack, and I think that that's pretty fitting based on his play so far. Now, he also hasn't played a ton of great defenses. Like Cardinals defense, not that great. Rams defense, not that great. Minnesota's is pretty solid. Philadelphia's is really struggling this year. Houston's has been pretty good, so I'll give him that. But like across the board, hasn't played a lot of really strong defenses, and who knows what his numbers will look like at the end of the year because of it. Especially, you look at a team like the Bears; they still got to play them twice. They have a really good defense. Mm-hmm. Vikings defense, they'll have to play them again. So we'll see what it looks like at the end of the year. But kind of just an interesting start to the year for him. Now we'll go from start of the year to ending the year. Deshaun Watson, he has hit the headlines quite a bit the last 2 or 3 years, more bad than good. This is just another case of that. So he actually got booed as he was getting carted off the field, and I believe it was a popped Achilles.
Yeah, it was
Browns players were there to support him. Yeah, okay. Browns players were there to support him after the game. Jameson Winston had something to say about him after his game. A lot of guys are coming to support Deshaun Watson. Personally, I think it's more just like they're doing the right thing, like for the clubhouse. But Browns fans, I think, might secretly be happy about this.
Yeah, I think they're happy about it. I also think they're kind of enraged with the way that the players approached it. As someone who went to school in Ohio, I get subjected to a lot of Cleveland sports stuff, just because my friends are fans of Cleveland teams and stuff. And you had like Myles Garrett, Jameis Winston, Greg Newsome in the locker room talking about it after, and they were coming from the standpoint of you shouldn't boo people when they get injured. I agree with that for sure. No matter what the situation is, you don't ever want to root for someone's injury. But then they also followed that up with talking about how good of a person Deshaun Watson is, which I think just kind of ruined that whole situation for like if I were a fan, I'd be like, what are we doing here? Like
Yeah.
this is just not true. Like we're straight up
You're
just
not going to
lying.
pull the wool over it.
Yeah,
You're not going to pull the
we're
wool
just
over anyone's eyes here.
yeah, we're just lying to ourselves and lying to everyone at this point. So I certainly see where the frustration comes from. Like what that's the response that they have. Like if you want to come out and like drag the fans for doing that stuff, whatever, but don't follow that up with talking about how good of a person some guy is who assaulted multiple women. Like that's just a terrible way to try to bash one group of people and then lift up another person who's guilty of a lot of things in his life. So just kind of an interesting situation. And I mean, it's like, man, like I'm sure the fans are glad they don't have to watch Watson for the rest of the year. Who knows what his future looks like in Cleveland? It's going to be a hard contract to get out of, but it's just like they have something that seems like it's a good thing for them happen that gets like a dark cloud over it too with all this locker room talk. Like they can never just have nice things, it seems like.
Man, there's like one franchise. Oh, I don't know. Maybe you throw like the Jaguars in there too. I was going to say there's like one franchise that just struggles like with quarterback play more than the Bears do, and clearly that's the Browns. And I feel for their fans genuinely because their fan base is incredible. Like when that team is good, that place is rocking. And to have all that stuff happen with Deshaun Watson, I think it's really interesting that they were talking like a lot about his character basically without saying that. And I'm like, this guy's character is trash. Like if there's one thing you shouldn't be defending, it's his character. So we'll see. I think it's a storyline that'll fizzle out. I don't think we'll hear anything more about it, but yeah, some of the comments are pretty interesting. Last recap for this week for NFL. Chiefs managed to stay undefeated with a win over the 49ers. Pat Mahomes kind of looks shitty so far.
I think we could say he's a bust. I think that's where I'm at with him. He's having a horrible year, but it's pretty impressive that don't get me wrong, the Chiefs are a good team, but like they go as Mahomes goes, and he went 16 of 27, 154 yards, 2 interceptions, and they beat the 49ers by 10. Pat Mahomes on the year, he has
it ain't pretty.
completed 67.9% of his passes, which is pretty damn good, but 1,389 yards, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He has a rating of 82.5. Let's see where that falls for him.
9.
Here, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
I have QBR of 61.
That is 82.5 is the worst rating he's had since his rookie year, where he made 1 start.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, when you're 6-0 and you've got as many touchdown passes as you do wins, there's something going on, especially when you're Pat Mahomes. You know what I mean? Like, you never have to question Pat Mahomes' ability to take over a game, be the best quarterback in the NFL, but he hasn't looked good. He's gotten Matt Nagy'd, man. I think that probably has something to do with it. Matt Nagy is just ruining Pat Mahomes before our eyes.
Well, he was there last year, and that worked out well for him. So,
no, I don't think Mahomes' numbers that last year were that impressive either. I mean, obviously he won the Super Bowl.
They did win the Super Bowl. That is the ultimate goal.
Well, yes, but like his numbers, I think last year they took a dip relative to other years. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Let's see. Of course, it's going to take a second here. I don't know. I'll find it. But I'm pretty sure last year his numbers weren't really as impressive as previous years, and that's when Matt Nagy came back. So I don't know. Maybe here it is. Maybe there is something to do with it. Maybe not. But like here, His 3 years previous, so 22, 21, and 20. I mean, you can even throw 19 in there. 41 and 12, 37 and 13, 38 and 6, 26 and 5, and 2018, 50 and 12. Last year, he threw the most interceptions he's ever thrown in his career, 27 and 14. This year, he's at 6 and 8. So the last 2 years, I mean, his QBR is the worst it's ever been in the last 2 years, too. So I don't know. I think there's something to it, but at the end of the day, like, if you can still figure out how to win games when you're performing like this, it might even be more impressive than just dominating the NFL and looking like you have been in the past. So
yeah, and they got a handful of injuries too, not to make excuses, but
yeah,
I know
and Travis Kelce hasn't been.
No, he hasn't done
well.
much. He's just been too focused on his life outside of football, and getting weird haircuts and looking like a drug dealer.
Yeah, his hair is just bizarre. All right, let's make some picks for this week's game. I've got the games pulled up here.
Okay.
We start with Thursday night. We've got Vikings-Rams at the Rams.
That's an interesting matchup. That's like, as much as I want to call a trap game, I'm just not really buying into that. So I'll take the Vikings here. Coming off a loss, think they bounce back.
Yeah, there's also a lot of trade rumors going on with the Rams right now. Cooper Kupp is in there. I also saw something, I don't know how true this is, but I saw something saying that the Vikings are inquiring about Matt Stafford, which is really interesting. That'd be wild. But nonetheless, I'm going to take Vikings as well. We've got Eagles and Bengals in Cincinnati. This one's really interesting.
It is. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals here. I think they're capable of winning a shootout if it goes that way. And I kind of feel like it might go that way.
I think so too. Joe Burrow's quietly having a really nice year.
Yeah.
He's approaching 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, 2 picks. So I'll take Bengals here. They're 0-3 at home. Wow, that's crazy. They're 3-1 on the road. Ravens and Browns in Cleveland. Don't need to spend a lot of time here.
Yep. As much as I love Jameis Winston and what he brings to the table, I think the Ravens will win this game.
Yeah. Titans and Lions in Detroit. Yep. And that's an 11-point spread. That's probably the biggest spread this week. Cardinals, Dolphins in Miami. Cardinals
go with the
escaped
Cardinals
last night. Dude, they escaped with one last night.
I'm going to go with the Cardinals. Apparently Tua might be playing. Also was just watching some clips on the most reliable news source in the world in TikTok, and caught an interview of Tua where he met with the media recently, and he is not going to wear a Guardian cap. So as much as you want this guy to be careful about his future and his life outside of football, he is not doing anything to help himself.
No. And he was kind of ignorant with his comments too. I was like,
he was very ignorant. That's like the first takeaway I had. I was like, wow, maybe provide a little bit of context here. Like, you're one hit away from never being able to play football again.
He's lucky he even can. All right, well, let's do this. Let's say Cardinals, Dolphins. If Tua doesn't play, you're going to take the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think
Either
I'm just
way.
going to take the Cardinals regardless.
I think I'm going to take Dolphins if Tua plays, and if not, I'm going to take Cardinals. I think Tyreek Hill, he's due for a breakout game, and Tua loves targeting him. So we've got Jets and Patriots in Foxborough. That one, wow, 2-5 versus 1-6.
I'm going to take the Patriots.
I think I am too.
I don't feel great about it, but there's just something about, like, I feel like Drake May's just playing pretty well. He'll be able to score enough points, and I don't know. I'm not buying the Jets. They got a lot of issues going on. So I think Patriots are going to win.
Did Drake May play against the Texans?
Yeah, that was his debut.
Okay. Because I was going to say, this might be his first home game, which could be electric. But, yeah, I'm kind of leaning Patriots here, too. It's just one of those weird games. My gut tells me Pats are going to come away with this one. Drake May's looked pretty nice to start the year, so I'm just going to ride that momentum. We've got Falcons and Buccaneers in Tampa. This one's really interesting because Buccaneers almost got wrecked, came back last night. against the Ravens.
Well,
Falcons.
no, they did get wrecked. They're down Evans and Godwin now.
Yes, health-wise they got wrecked, but they were down big. Falcons just really blew it against the Seahawks, so they need a big win here. Both teams really need a big win.
I heard that game might not count, though, the Falcons-Seahawks game. They're thinking about just wiping it.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to go with the Falcons here, right? Just given the injuries that the Buccaneers had to deal with. That's a lot of their offense going down, and I think the Falcons will beat them again.
I think so, too. Baker's quietly having a pretty nice year again, even though the last two games, I think he had 4 and 3 the last two games. Still, he's at 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, so tearing it up before that. Packers and Jaguars in Jacksonville.
I'm going with Jacksonville. I can't quite announce them as dead yet. Trevor Lawrence is starting to play a little bit better. I think they're going to be feeling pretty good coming off a win, and I'm going to let them take that momentum one more week and beat Green Bay.
I think both teams can put up points pretty well here. I think the Packers defense is a little bit better than the Jaguars defense, which has me leaning for Green Bay. Trevor Lawrence, he's starting to put together a couple really nice games. So I'm going to take Green Bay here. I don't love the pick, but let's just say Green Bay. Colts and Texans in Houston.
I'm going to go Texans.
I am going to say Colts. Your boy Anthony Richardson is desperate for a good game this year, and I don't know why the sports gods are telling me he's going to have it this weekend, but I'm going to say Colts. Saints and Chargers in L.A.
That game makes me want to vomit, but I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Dude, yeah, painful. I think so, too. And again, I really like what I've seen from J.K. Dobbins so far. He's averaging over 4.5 yards a carry. I think they continue that against the Saints. Bills and Seahawks in Seattle. Bills by 40.
Bills by 4,000.
Geno Smith is not looking good, man. He's throwing for a shit ton of yards. He might be the closest quarterback to 2,000 yards. He's at 1985. But 8 touchdowns, 6 picks, not good. So I'm going to say Bills. Wow. We've got quite a few shitty games this weekend. Panthers and Broncos in Denver.
Broncos just because it's in Denver.
Yeah, I'm going to say Broncos. Paul, I'm sorry, but your Raiders are facing the Chiefs in Vegas.
I'm going to take the Raiders, actually. Like,
really?
They play the Chiefs well. I don't understand how or why. They always do it. I'm going to take them to win their home game against them.
Wow, good for you. I think it's still Chiefs, but good for you. It's a 10-point spread, too. That's crazy. All right, Cowboys and Niners, both teams really desperate for a big win here. This one's in Santa Clara. This one sucks to pick.
This can go so many ways. Just because I unfortunately have Dak on my fantasy team, I'm going to go with the Cowboys for my sake.
The Niners are starting to get Ayuk is going to be done for the year. Debo just had pneumonia. So Debo might not play in this game. So I think due to lack of weapons, I'm going to take the Cowboys too. If Debo plays, maybe that makes a difference, but I'll take Dallas.
Dallas is 3-0 on the road, so.
Oh, yeah. Shit. Giants and Steelers. Your Giants did not win last week, Sean. I hate to break it to you, but Giants and Steelers in Pittsburgh.
Oh, I picked them to win, didn't I?
Yeah, you did against the Eagles.
Nice. I'm going to go with Steelers here. They looked a little bit better with Russ at quarterback, and this is another favorable matchup for them. So I'll take the Steelers, and I think Russ will cook a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he was cooking. I think he's going to continue to cook. Giants are giving up a lot of points on a weekly basis. So I'm going to take the Giants here too. And then the only game we didn't talk about is the Bears game. We will do that when we dive into the Chicago portion. All right. Well, can't wait to go 0-8 this week with my predictions. That'll be fun. Let's dive into some college football recap. Sean, I'll let you take the reins here since I just ran through the schedule. But do you want to dive into what we noticed out of college football this week?
Yeah, so you mentioned there was a lot of big games, and none other than Georgia at Texas was the biggest one, and probably, I don't know, Kevin. I thought that Texas, and this isn't to say that they aren't the best team in college football, but going into it, I said they were, and they just got pretty much manhandled by Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia won 30-15, and then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Like, Georgia's a talented team too, and they were kind of due for a good win this year. Shouldn't have maybe overlooked Georgia quite as much, but yeah, I mean, Georgia just kind of handled business from the jump, and they did it with Carson Beck not looking that good either. He had 3 interceptions, and
not that good. He looked so shitty.
And fortunately for him, Quinn Ewers did not play well either. He actually got benched at one point for Arch Manning, and then Arch Manning lost that job too. But Trevor Etienne of Georgia ran for 3 touchdowns, so they were running the ball pretty well against Texas. Texas was unable. No, it's not. Texas was unable to do the same. So they were in pretty predictable situations, especially when you're trailing. And Georgia just kind of had a field day against them. Got to the quarterback a lot. They had 7 sacks in the game. 10 tackles for loss. So, yeah, they were just feasting on Texas, and that one was over pretty much right when it started.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by this one. I thought it was going to be a shootout. I thought Texas was going to come out on top, and honestly, I thought Texas could have won by like 10-13, but Georgia just kind of went back to their like old school Georgia football. You know what I mean? Like historically, they haven't really had like game changers at quarterback, and Carson Beck really hasn't been that this year. But just with the run game and their defense, they managed to win games, and that's what happened this weekend. They looked really nice, and honestly, it caught me by surprise. So big win for them.
And then I had to take a step back and be like, well, just because Georgia hasn't looked good doesn't mean they're a bad team either. So this was totally like a possibility of happening too. I mean, everyone had Georgia as the preseason favorites to win it all. They just haven't looked like it. But now maybe this is what they needed. We'll see.
Yeah, they still have a tough slate, I think. I think they've got some pretty big games left on their schedule, so we're going to learn a lot pretty quickly from Georgia and then obviously like SEC championship too. So we'll see. Speaking of SEC, 2 teams faced off. Tennessee had a pretty interesting kind of sloppy win over Alabama. Bama's already got 2 losses on the season. They are
2-2 in the SEC.
Yeah, dude, they're kind of on the brink of not making the playoff here, which that then brings the conversation of is Kalen DeBoer's job up for grabs. But I want to say I was impressed with Nico. He had a pretty nice game, but he still hasn't dominated any games that he's played in, and he was a highly touted recruit. I know he had a pretty sizable NIL offer. But at the end of the day, Tennessee came out with a win. That's all that matters. And a win over Bama, they'll take that any day.
Yep. I picked Tennessee to win that game. Just going to pat myself on the back there. Alabama, just a hard team to predict these days, Yeah. They look great against Georgia and have struggled since then. They have 2 losses. I think they're done. They have LSU on the schedule before the end of the year, and I think LSU wins that game. So probably looking at a Bama team that is not going to make an expanded playoff, which would be nuts. But Tennessee kind of needed this win too. They got Georgia left on the schedule. That's their biggest game. So, they're already sitting at one loss. So if they lose to Georgia, it's not necessarily the end of the world. But, uh, I thought Nico kind of looked bad for the most part, but they were able to run the ball too in this one. Dylan Sampson had 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, yeah, I mean, Alabama had the lead at halftime, and then Tennessee just put their foot on the gas the rest of the way and ended up winning 24-17. So good win for Tennessee. They've had some good luck against Bama lately, and if trends are continuing the way they are, might see some more of that here over the next few years. So
Yeah, I mean, especially depending on how Nico's career, ends up shaping. I mean, he's an interesting player. He's definitely somebody that, like, if he pans out the way that he was supposed to, he's going to be one of the Heisman favorites next year. So big win for him and big win for Tennessee.
yeah, he's completed 63.5% of his passes, 1,400 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
Not good.
So not stat stuffing by any means, but they're winning games, and that's how you make the playoffs. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
hang on here. Hang on. He has 8 touchdowns. He threw 5 in the first 2 weeks. Put that in perspective for you. So since then,
What about rushing?
like how much he has on the year?
How many rushing touchdowns?
1.
Oh, interesting. I thought it would have been higher than that, especially
Nope.
within the first 2 weeks.
Nope.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so I mean, kind of looking at that, like, got off to a great start. Haven't really seen it since, but again, winning games, so it's hard to be too critical of him. He's getting the job done.
Yeah. Speaking of getting the job done, Army and Navy, man, still undefeated.
Yes.
They survived another weekend.
Nate, we'll get to it when we make picks. Navy's got a very interesting game this weekend.
I didn't see it, but
Yep,
I'll
you'll
just
see
pick.
it
I'll
here
make
in
the
a
pick
bit.
live. Another team that's having a really nice year, Indiana. They had a huge win
man.
over Nebraska this
Yeah.
weekend. They're looking incredible this year. Honestly, with the exception of Illinois, I think Indiana is like the surprise team in the Big Ten this year.
Oh, 100%. I don't think it's even with how good Illinois is doing, I think Indiana's a much bigger story than this. Granted, they got JMU's coach, they got some of JMU's players. They were the sweetheart team of last year, but you're looking at a team that all those guys are translating to the Big Ten, and they're 7-0. Like, that's
Yeah.
pretty damn impressive. So
They
I think,
might
yeah,
not
they
have
look-
their quarterback this weekend. I'm pretty sure I saw he had a hand injury and he might be out this weekend. So hopefully that doesn't linger, but a story to keep an eye on.
Yeah, they're playing Washington. That's going to be a tough game for them if they don't have their quarterback.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just a 56-7 final. I couldn't believe it was that
it's crazy.
one-sided. Dylan Raiola talking about a guy who had the world in the palm of his hands. I don't even think people are talking about him anymore. 3 interception game, no touchdowns. He is actually no. You know what? He is channeling his inner Patrick Mahomes quite a bit
Yeah.
this year.
I was gonna say they're mirroring each other.
Yeah. So, yeah, good job. Keep doing that, I guess.
It's just one of them has Super Bowl rings, the other one doesn't.
Yeah, he's this year's Patrick Mahomes, and that's it. That's the
Yeah.
only comparison you can make. So,
Yeah, I mean he's a
Yeah,
true
but-
freshman too, so he's got time.
but good for Indiana though. They're having an unbelievable year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my team, so Miami survived another close game. I was actually only able to watch the first half because I had to go to a bartending event for the second half, so I had my phone out on the bar, and I'm like having a heart attack. Louisville comes back within 1 score, and then Miami makes it 2. Louisville comes back and ties the game, and Miami goes ahead by a touchdown. Combined points is 97 points across the whole game. Like, no team was playing defense.
Yep.
Cam Ward continues to be Cam Ward. Like, that's just been the story of Miami this year. And we knew what kind of quarterback we were getting when he decided to come to Miami. Damian Martinez has been a really interesting story this year. He is a running back that came from Oregon State. He was a highly recruited transfer in the transfer portal, managed to find his way to Miami, really struggled up until this game. Kind of had a hard time stuffing the stat sheet, and Miami had some easy games on their schedule too, so that shouldn't have been the case. They started Mark Fletcher instead. Mark Fletcher has been really nice. He's a great running back. He's going to be a really nice future piece for this team. But Damian Martinez kind of had a puff my chest moment and had 12 carries, 89 yards, average of 7.5 yards with a touchdown. He had one play where he was just like carrying 4 linemen with him. It was ridiculous. But, to escape Louisville with a win like that was really nice. I mean, Louisville's not a team to laugh at. Like they're actually a pretty solid team. They already have a tough schedule this year, so a win is a win, man. Like that's just how we walk away. We're going into hate week this week, so we've got Florida State. Sean, wake the fuck up.
He's still going.
We've got Florida State this week, so we better win by 60, and we'll talk about that game after. So, yeah, a win is a win.
And Louisville threw everything they had at you guys. They got aided by a kickoff return for a touchton, which you don't see too often. But Tyler Show had a good game too, so it's not like nice. Louisville had an off day or anything like that. It was just kind of one of those back and forth affairs that one team had to get the stop or had to hold the team to a field goal or get that turnover that they needed. And Miami was the team that ended up on the right side of that. So,
dude, Louisville even had a fake punt for a first down. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't know.
Dude, it was on their own 20 or something like that. It was insane. They just called a fake punt. It was probably like within 5 yards he had to run, but still, when you're lining up all that far, you're not just running 5 yards, you're running like 15. So, yeah, they threw everything at us. But speaking of, we touched on Illinois a little bit. Illinois ended up beating Michigan. I think we both picked this. They're 6-1 on the season. Aside from their start to this year, I think the storyline here is their helmets.
Mm-hmm.
Hand painted.
They did a throwback to like 100 years of Illinois football, so it was kind of that retro leather looking helmet that was, like Kevin said, hand painted and just kind of a cool throwback. The uniforms as a whole were pretty ugly, but it was a nice touch to Illinois football history. And I guess throwing it back to football back in those days, they beat Michigan and only needed 80 passing yards to do it. So,
dude, I saw that. That's insane. Just insane.
Yeah. They were really all in for the throwback. But I mean, for Illinois, anytime you beat Michigan, it's a pretty big deal. Obviously, this is not a Michigan of the past kind of team, but it was a ranked matchup for Illinois to win that game. Still, that's pretty impressive. Right now, you're looking at a team that beat three ranked teams. Their only loss is to number 9 Penn State. They've obviously moved up since then, but Illinois' got one more big one on the schedule this weekend, and whatever happens, happens, but they should be able to get some more wins here to end the year and kind of finish this season pretty strong here. But just a good performance from them. They were without their starting running back. They're going to be missing him for a few weeks, it sounds like, or maybe even the season. But they handled business.
Yeah, they continue to have a nice season, and honestly, I think they'll be in a pretty nice bowl game at the end of the year.
If they win out, they'll be a playoff team. They have to be. Which is crazy. They have a really big opponent this weekend, which we'll get to. But if they somehow manage to win and then they win out, they're a playoff team, which is nuts. Imagine if Illinois and Indiana make the playoff.
That'd be sick. I'm all for it, dude. Yeah, this weekend's game, I just took I just took a look at that. That's an uphill battle. All right, well, honestly, dude, let's just jump into that then. Let's make our picks for this week. Sean, I'll let you usually take the slate here, so I'll let you run through them.
Yep, so Thursday night we have Syracuse at number 19 Pittsburgh. I'm going to take Syracuse.
I am too. Kyle McCord's been playing really well this year.
Pittsburgh's undefeated, 6-0, 2-0 in the ACC. But I'm going.
And a Thursday night game, dude. It screams upset.
Yep. Friday night, 9:30 p.m. Everyone in the country is going to be sitting down on the couch because Boise State's playing UNLV at UNLV. 6-1 versus 5-1 might actually be a pretty good game. Until teams show they can do it, I'm always going to pick Boise because I can count on them to probably have 200 yards rushing from one player in Ashton Genty. So I'm going to go with Boise State.
I mean, they're the favorite and they're the away team. You know what I mean? And UNLV is no joke. They're 6-1. But I'm going to take Boise State too. I mean, dude, even what they've been getting out of Madsen, he's got 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1,200 yards. They're having a nice year, so I'll take Boise State.
Yep, we thought he wouldn't be the starting quarterback. Turns out Boise State maybe knows what they're doing a little bit better than us, but hey, whatever. Moving into Saturday, so the big game we got Illinois at Oregon. Now, let me say something.
Oh,
okay?
Boy.
Let me say something here. I have been Illinois' biggest supporter this year. I have picked them to beat teams all year long. I picked them to beat Penn State. They didn't do it. They let me down. I want Illinois to win this game, but I got to break away from a trend I had the last time they faced a top 5 or top 10 team. So I'm going to pick Oregon, and I hope that, because I picked Illinois last time they had this big matchup, they lost. Maybe this time they win. So I'm going to pick Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Altmaier threw for 80 yards last game, and he's going to face a much harder defense this game than what he played last game. And the spread is 21.5. 2 top 20 teams, number 1 and number 20. 21.5
Spreads are meant to be broken, buddy.
I'm still taking Oregon. I would take Oregon money line. I'm going to take Oregon here.
I would take Illinois money line.
I'm sure you would.
We got Nebraska at Ohio State. Ohio State's going to win that game easy, I think.
Yep, agreed.
So here's the fun one for you, Kev. Notre Dame.
Navy.
I think this is technically a home game for them, but Notre Dame at Navy in East Rutherford, New Jersey, at MetLife Stadium.
It's not even a question. It's Navy.
I got to go with Navy, too. I really want them to be undefeated heading into the Army game, so I have to pick them every time.
Dude, Riley Leonard hasn't even looked that good. He's got 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Like, it's Navy.
We got Washington at Indiana. God, this is tough.
No, that's Indiana.
Well, if their quarterback's hurt, that's a game changer. But assuming as of today he's healthy, I'm going to pick Indiana. Oklahoma at Ole Miss. I'm going to go with Ole Miss.
Yep, I think so
trash.
too. Yeah.
Number 11, BYU at UCF. I'm going to go with BYU.
Yeah, that's kind of a no-brainer. Oh, it's only a 1.5 point spread. That's crazy. UCF's 3-4, BYU 7-0, and UCF's giving BYU 1.5 points. That's crazy.
Interesting matchup here. We got Missouri at Alabama. Missouri looks like crap. I would love to pick Missouri here. I just don't trust them enough. I'm going to say we get Alabama here, and I think it'll be spread's 13.5. I think it'll be right around there, if not more.
Dude, I think Bama's going to win, and I think Ryan Williams is going to have like 300 receiving yards this game. I think he's just going to pop off.
He had a touchdown last game, and I think it was like his first receiving touchdown less than 30 yards or some stupid, ridiculous stat.
Insane. Yeah.
Trap game of the weekend. Texas at Vanderbilt. I would love to pick Vanderbilt. I think that would
ain't
be
no trap game.
Amazing. But I got to go with Texas here.
Yeah, it's Texas.
I am not going to say much. Last time I did, I had to eat my words, but I'm just going to pick Texas. Now, if I could wager, I'd throw a little bit of money on Vanderbilt money line for fun. But I think Texas will take care of business.
Yeah.
Florida State at Miami. I think Miami wins this game by
A lot.
I'm going to say
Literally.
40 plus, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they win by 40 plus.
Yeah. It's going to be just an absolute shit show. Miami's just going to just have a field day with Florida State. And if they don't, then we've got some real question marks.
Number 3, Penn State at Wisconsin. It's your kind of typical tough Big Ten matchup, but Penn State's been getting the job done this year, so I'm going to keep rolling with them until otherwise.
I like an upset for Penn State, but I don't think this is the game. I'm going to stick with Penn State for this game.
Right on. Interesting matchup here, maybe the best one this weekend. Number 8 LSU at number 14 Texas A&M. Texas A&M's favored.
Yep.
I kind of like what LSU's been doing this year. I'm gonna stick with LSU. I think LSU is going to be one of those other SEC teams that makes the playoffs. So I think they're going to knock off A&M, and I think they're going to knock off Bama eventually. So I'm going to pick LSU here.
Dude, I think this is the good old Brian Kelly trap game. I am going to take Texas A&M here. I don't trust Brian Kelly in all the big games, and I think that this is a game he's going to lose. And I think he's going to lose it. Like, I think Texas A&M will probably play better than LSU, but I think he's going to like fuck something up and they're going to lose that game.
It's never a good thing when the coach fucks something up.
and it's predicted on Banter from the Bench podcast.
Yeah. That's when you know. If you would have thought before the year these teams would be having the year that they were supposed to be having, one of them is, one of them isn't. This would be a really exciting game. It's not quite as exciting anymore. Kansas at Kansas State. Still a rivalry game, though, which is cool, but I'm going to roll with Kansas State.
Yeah, I really like what I've seen from their sophomore quarterback this year. I think it's Avery Johnson.
Yeah, it is.
He's looked really good, and Kansas is 2-5, so this one's a no-brainer.
Tough season for Kansas. They've had a lot of those in football, though.
Yeah.
Then our last ranked matchup of the weekend, we got number 22 SMU at 6-1 Duke. I didn't know Duke was 6-1. Now this is a tough one. I think this will be a really good game too.
Do you know who's coaching them?
I am surprised. I do. This is a former Canes Legends Bowl right here.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
I am surprised that the spread is 11.5. I'm going to take Duke. I'm going to take Duke, actually. I like Duke in this game. This is going to be a Manny Diaz legacy game. People are going to be, when they talk about Manny Diaz, they're going to be talking about this win.
I think I'm kind of leaning the same direction, Sean. Malik Murphy.
Manny Diaz legacy game. Let's go.
Malik Murphy's looked pretty good for Duke.
Yeah.
SMU is just flat out playing good football right now, but they also haven't really hit a game where they've had to battle. Well, no, they had one close game a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to say Duke, dude. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is just the experience that Manny had with Miami. Maybe it's just the fact that they're 6-1. I'm going to say Duke
Kevin.
too. What?
Do you know who Duke has the week after that? Oh, no, Kevin.
Is it us?
At Miami.
Oh, I'm not worried about that.
Oh, no. You want to talk about a Manny Diaz legacy game.
Yeah. It was bound to happen at some point.
But yes, I'm rolling with Duke with you there. I'm going to try to watch that game if I can. I feel like that'll be a good game.
What is it, 5 p.m. my time, so 7 Central, ACC Network. So, yeah, you should be able to watch it. All right, cool. Well, is that it for Nationals? No. We've got quite a bit left for National, actually. So, I don't really have a whole lot to add here. I mean, World Series, Yankees, Dodgers, kind of just two powerhouses of the playoffs this year. I mean, I think it should make for an entertaining World Series, but for people who just don't like seeing like big market teams in the World Series, it's not ideal. So, All I'll add is this. I'll make my pick. I'll pick how many games, and then I'll let you take the stage. I am going to take the Dodgers in 6.
Okay. I think it's going to be a very entertaining World Series. I think the games will be good. I think the games should mostly be close. I'm not going to have a ton of interest in it. I think I might only tune in if there's nothing else on. I'm one of the people that is like, I really hate, I would hate to have either of these teams win at all. But I mean, you're looking at your biggest markets, actually your two biggest markets, and you're looking at two teams that have been very good for quite a few years, but have never gotten a chance to meet in the World Series. So I think it's going to make for some exciting games, storylines, things like that. ESPN is probably salivating that they get to just talk about the Yankees and Dodgers for weeks, and no other teams exist while those two are playing. Like,
dude, it's literally going to be Judge and Shohei this.
This is ESPN's dream. So happy that they get to live that out. That must be nice. I got ESPN pulled up here, and they got the first pitching matchup, which I'll get to, but it shows ticket prices for the World Series. Game 1, it's tickets as low as $1,035. So
as low.
That's nuts. Yeah, as low. So as of right now, that is the low ticket. So you got the Dodgers in 6. I'm going to go a little bit different here. I'm going to take the Yankees in 7. And the reason I'm taking the Yankees is I trust their rotation a little bit more than I trust the Dodgers rotation. Garrett Cole versus Jack Flaherty, game 1. I'm even going to go as far to say that's a must-win game for the Yankees. To steal the first game, to steal a game on the road, with that kind of, in my opinion, uneven of a pitching matchup. Flaherty's a good pitcher, but he's not Garrett Cole. If the Yankees are to win the World Series, they gotta win. I think they gotta win.
You don't want to waste this. You don't want to waste a start by your ace. You know.
Yep. So, I'm rolling with the Yankees. I think they'll get it done in 7. I'm just hoping. I'm hoping it's fun. I guess I don't know. Guessing Carlos Rodon will probably get game 2 for them. Yamamoto maybe game 2 for the Dodgers, and then from there on out we'll see. Happy for all the former White Sox that get to play in the World Series. We all knew it wouldn't happen in Chicago, so glad they branched out and were able to play there.
Dude, could you imagine Michael Kopech winning a ring?
Well, will him or Carlos Rodon will get one, and Tim Hill too. He's
Tommy Kahnle, or however you say it.
Yeah, that's right, Kahnle. Yeah, he's on the Yankees too. Yeah. You know what? Let's look at their rosters. Let's see how many former White Sox legends are here.
Harry, you do the Yankees. I'll do the Dodgers.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got the Yankees. So Yankees got Tim Hill. Yankees got Tommy Kahnle. Yankees got Carlos Rodon. I forgot they have Marcus Stroman.
Oh wow! I did too.
And that's it for the Yankees. So all pitchers. Has Stroman even pitched this postseason?
Okay, here. The Dodgers, I don't think they have. I'm looking at their 40-man right now. Why do I feel like Brent Honeywell pitched for the White Sox?
He did.
Daniel Hudson did. He's on the 40-man.
Brent Honeywell was on the White Sox.
I don't know if this is their World Series. Do you have the World Series roster pulled up?
No, I'm looking at the same one.
Because I see probably Daniel Hudson,
Michael Kopech,
Joe Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Joe Kelly in there too. I don't think any position players for the Dodgers. I think they know better than to. Yeah. No, that's it. Okay. So yeah, you've got a handful of former White Sox who, no surprise here, they're productive when they leave the team. But let's jump into some NBA preview. We've got quite a bit we want to talk about here. I think one activity you wanted to do was predicting who we think is going to win the championship as well as
It
all of
doesn't
the
even
awards.
matter. It's stupid exercise. Doesn't count.
Well, I mean, we're going to hit on all of them. So let's start with who you think is going to win the title this year.
Yeah, I had the New York Knicks. They're currently losing by like 30 to the Celtics. So, so it doesn't count. But
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I like the Knicks roster. The NBA is so hard to predict. It really is. Like the Celtics could go on a run and they could win it all again. Nuggets could get back to glory. The Bucks are kind of always lurking. 76ers are always lurking. It's hard to kind of really nail down like who's actually going to win it all. I just like the Knicks have had a good offseason. They got some momentum. They got some hype going into the year. I kind of like the team they built. Now, they don't have a ton of depth, but, you look at Brunson, Towns, Anunoby, Bridges, and your starting lineup, like, that's pretty kick-ass. So I'm going to say the Knicks get it done. And, that's my prediction.
I think that'll be a popular one. I said the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, they got all that experience last year. You've got a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie. Obviously, you have Luka. You've got Big Dan with Daniel Gafford. You've got Kyrie. You've got Derek Lively, Markieff Morris, Dwight Powell, Klay Thompson, a new addition, PJ Washington. They have a shit ton of depth, and they had a nice run last year. For me, I'm going to say Dallas goes back, and I think they win it this year.
Right on.
MVP. Talk to me.
Yeah, this is a hard one to predict too. I'm going to go with Anthony Edwards on this one. I feel like he's really bursted onto the scene the last couple of years. He's kind of becoming one of those faces of the NBA type of guys.
And NFL.
They did shake up their roster a little bit, and I actually think it'll work out well for him where he'll be able to shoot and have the ball in his hands more without Cat. So I think that we'll probably see a little bit of an uptick in Anthony Edwards' offensive stats. That's most of it. That's like his whole game pretty much. He is good defensively and he rebounds and he can dish the ball out and stuff. But he's an assassin with the ball. That's what he's known for. So I think we're gonna get a little boost here with Cat being gone, and I think it'll end up being, him having a better showing statistically, and also I think the Timberwolves are going to be really good too. I think they'll be, up as one of the top 3 teams in the West. So I think with that in mind, he'll be having an MVP type season, and I think he'll get the award.
I wouldn't be surprised. He made a huge jump last year, and you started to see some of it the year prior. But yeah, he made a huge jump on the scene last year. Yeah. Mine kind of goes hand in hand with my title winner. I said Luka Doncic. Last year he had 28, 9, and 8. Actually 9.5 rebounds, almost 10. One of the biggest faces in the NBA. I think he may have won MVP once, or maybe not at all. But the dude is just a star. I would not be shocked to see Luka Doncic win MVP this year. Yeah. Most improved player, who do you have?
So before we get over there, Doncic was one of the first guys I thought of when thinking of who's going to win MVP, but I was like, I know Kevin's going to take him, so I'm not going to do that.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. Most improved player, I got Evan Mobley out of Cleveland. Looking at a guy who's been pretty good. He averaged 15.7 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, and 1.4 blocks per game. I feel like he's kind of got like that superstar potential in him. It just hasn't really come out fully quite yet. They got Kenny Atkinson coming in as their coach. I think they're going to run a lot of the offense through Mobley, and I think we're going to see him have a much better year as a result. So I'm kind of buying into his skill set, what he brings to the table, also with a new coach and system that they're going to be running in Cleveland.
Yeah, he's a nice player. I've always liked Evan Mobley. I wouldn't be surprised to see him win. I went with a guy that a lot of teams tried to trade for this offseason and during the trade deadline, and his current team just refused. No, his current team just refused to give him up. I said Jonathan Kuminga from Golden State. He had 16, 4, and 2 last year. Obviously, Golden State lost Klay Thompson, so they're going to lose some scoring there. I think he's going to be featured quite a bit, other than obviously Steph, because Draymond can't score for shit. So I'm going to say Jonathan Kuminga. I think he's due for a big year this year. Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you have?
I went with the easy choice that everyone in the world is going to have.
Yeah. Yes, you did.
I went with Victor Wembanyama. I think he was close, like he was up for it last year. I think he's just a freak. He's going to be the odds-on favorite by far and away. So I gave myself an easy one here, and I think he'll break through and get his first of probably many Defensive Player of the Years.
Yeah, I think that's an obvious pick. I went with somebody different, somebody who won it actually in 2022. I think it was Jaren Jackson Jr. Just a really, really productive defensive player, and even on offense too. But I think it was 2022 when he won it previously. I could see him coming back and winning it again this year. Right. Interesting one here. Okay, this one's interesting. Rookie of the Year, because this year's draft was not particularly loaded, so it's really up for grabs. So, Sean, who do you have for Rookie of the Year?
I got Montes Buzelis from the Bulls. Unbiasedly, I really do think he's going to have a good shot at winning this. And I think there is going to be people who have more opportunities to play right away. I think Buzelis is going to earn his spot on the Bulls right away. The Bulls are going to be unloading some players throughout the year too, and his role is going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And by the end of the year, like they might even be running the whole damn offense through him. So I think he's going to have a really good opportunity to do some damage. He's going to be playing in probably a lot of meaningless, not quite stressful games. So
garbage time.
So I think it'll be a good transition for him. And I mean, like you can't invest in someone based off summer league preseason stuff, but I mean, every time he's been on the court, he's shown he's capable of handling the NBA. So I think he's going to blossom eventually, and I think he'll have a good shot at winning Rookie of the Year. He's a guy that can score, he can play defense, so he kind of brings both those elements to the game. So I think overall well-roundedness to his game will help him take home that award.
And he's second on the depth chart behind Zach LaVine too, right? So the second Zach LaVine gets traded, that opens up so much playing time for Modest. I think that's a smart pick. I went with a guy, Stephon Castle, out of UConn. He was a pretty highly touted draft pick, but I also picked him because of where he landed in San Antonio. He's with Coach Pop. We know how good Coach Pop is at developing players. So I think he's already very talented, but landed in a perfect setting for him. So I'm going to say Stephon Castle. Yep. Finally, last one, Sixth Man of the Year. Sean, who do you got?
We got an interesting one here for you and I. I got Malik Monk. Malik Monk really took on that bench role strongly last year with Sacramento. I think he's going to be doing that again this year, and I think he'll do a little bit better. Average 15 points per game, 5 assists. He's going to be on a Sacramento team that has a little bit more talent around him, so I think we're going to naturally see Monk with a little bit better stats. He did not win the award last year. He came second in voting, so I think he'll break through this year. Came second in voting to the guy you have taking it home again. So who you got?
Yeah, I've got Naz Reid. Not only did he win it last year, but man, was this guy electric in the playoffs.
I think he's electric Always.
I think he's just going to ride that momentum back into this year. And honestly, like maybe with some injury, he may play out of being the sixth man of the year. You know what I mean? Like he may become a starter if somebody gets hurt. So that pick could hurt me, but dude, he's just so exciting to watch. He's so fun to watch. It was hard not to pick him. So I went with Nas Reed.
Yeah.
This is the part where we transition into Chicago topics. We don't have a ton to talk about with Chicago topics in this episode, so the back end should be pretty light here. But I think since we're already talking NBA, a good place to start is talking about the Bulls. The regular season for them begins on Wednesday night against the Pelicans. What are you expecting this year?
Not much. Got some intriguing younger guys on the team. Matis obviously being at the front of that. Josh Giddey being one of those guys. Jalen Smith being one of those guys. Julian Phillips being one of those guys. Dalen Terry being one of those guys.
Yeah.
Adama Sanogo being one of those guys.
Yeah.
So just seeing all them kind of play together and seeing what that's going to look like. In a sense, almost kind of similar to the way we started talking about the White Sox at the end, towards the end of this year, where it's like, let the kids play, let's see what we got for the future, and go from there. So that's really going to be my number one thing I'm looking for with the Bulls, is just who's going to be sticking around with this team in the future, not just right now. Then obviously, number one piece of agenda is going to be, what does Josh Giddey look like, and is he going to be worth extending? They tried entering those talks a little bit already. That did not surface. Josh Giddey's actually a very self-aware person that I'm learning. He had an interview with media after there was a deadline where they had to reach a rookie extension. And Josh Giddey basically said, like, I have not done anything to actually earn that money, so I am fine playing this year without an extension. I feel less pressure this year than I did last year trying to play for that extension. So kind of interesting seeing how self-aware he is, not to get too off topic, but yeah, just kind of seeing what those guys look like, who's going to be important for this team. And then obviously the number one thing with Giddey is, or not, I shouldn't say the number one thing, one of the big storylines is Giddey, and then the other big storyline is who's getting traded and how soon are they getting traded.
Yeah.
So we got to keep an eye on Zach LaVine. What's he going to look like? I'm hoping he comes out and he's scorching hot and looks great, so he can eventually go to the Lakers and they can get a couple first-round picks for him. And then obviously we got to see what's going to happen with Nikola Vucevic as well. Is he even going to be able to be traded? Things like that. So those are kind of the things I'm looking for. I don't know. I think this team could have the first pick in the draft, or I think they could have like the 8th pick in the draft. It's just kind of, it's going to depend on what we get out of some of these guys. And I feel like their fate's going to be, we'll know their fate in terms of whether they'll be first or 8th or 9th early on. If we got LaVine putting up 40 a night for the first month and a half of the season, they're going to win some games. If he looks amazing and gets traded right away, that's going to help them lose some games. So kind of a lot to unpack here, but those are the things that I'm looking forward to. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's 3 things. It's trade pieces, so like you said, LaVine and Vooch. It's
Torrey Craig too. I don't know what they can get for him, but
yeah, maybe. It's young prospects and seeing these young guys start to bloom. Josh Giddey, not really young, but like new to the team, getting a starting opportunity. And then the other part is what does Lonzo Ball look like this year? Like that's going to be a big storyline for this season too. He's already looking pretty good with the limited time he's been able to play, and I think they're going to keep him on a time restriction pretty strictly this year. So that's another storyline, but I think you hit on a lot of it. I don't need to reiterate and sound like a parrot, but I'm just excited to watch the younger guys get an opportunity and see what comes of that. So it nonetheless, it should be an interesting year.
Yeah.
I would hope
Fun
that
fact.
we're
I was just gonna say, fun fact about Josh Giddey: he's only 22.
yeah,
So,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
I would hope that we're the number 1 pick versus the number 8 pick because I feel like we always are like 8 to 12.
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
Brooklyn's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
They're gonna be really bad. I'm just gonna pull up Tankathon here real quick. Because there's definitely teams worse than the Bulls, but the Bulls aren't going to be that good either. Washington's going to be bad. Portland's going to be pretty bad.
Dude, Clippers, if Kawhi continues to stay hurt.
Detroit, they did spend some money, but it is Detroit.
Yeah.
So I would say Charlotte, maybe you could put up there. I would say those are the teams I could maybe say I think for certain could be worse than the Bulls, and then whatever else happens. But
If Trae Young gets traded, you can throw Atlanta in that conversation.
yeah. Speaking of the Bulls' first game against the Pelicans, I was just looking at Twitter today and realized that I saw a notification or I saw a tweet that was like Dejounte Murray questionable for game against the Bulls, and I was like, holy shit, I forgot he's on the Pelicans now.
Yeah. Why?
So that was my first oh shit moment of, oh, he's on that team now, which I'll have probably 10 times this year.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. And that's before the trade deadline. After the trade deadline, it gets even more muddy. But yeah, I think the Bulls will be watchable this year. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
Let's jump to Bears talk. So Bears obviously had a bye this week. I think we're at a point now where we're like, damn, I wish I could watch the Bears, which is so foreign to us because usually we're like, we get a break from the Bears this weekend. So that was actually kind of nice. They're playing the Commanders this week. It got flexed to the 325 slot for the national audience. There's a lot of question marks for this game right now because we don't know if Jayden Daniels is even going to play. He got a rib injury last game, couldn't even finish last game. Marcus Mariota looked pretty nice, by the way.
He looks better than Jayden Daniels.
I hope Jayden Daniels plays because then we can see how he looks against a legit defense, and it'll make for an entertaining game, Caleb Williams versus Jayden Daniels. But, yeah, I guess we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, the outlook of that game is pretty much reliant on whether or not he plays. But
yeah,
I think it's safe to say, as of now, he's scared. The Commanders are scared, and they want to hide and protect their quarterback from the ferocious Bears defense. They don't want to have their own Caleb Williams come into, what is it, FedEx Field or whatever it's called. They don't want him to come in there and light up their team. When all this time they've been saying that the Bears should have drafted Jayden Daniels, they made the wrong choice. And so I think I in all seriousness, I think for football fans and for NFL fans, it'd be awesome if Jayden Daniels could play, but
yeah,
we'll see. And it's unfortunate because I know how this is going to go. And if the Bears win, if Caleb Williams looks great, it's going to be, oh, well, Jayden Daniels wasn't healthy. Like, well, they won't just be able to be like, you know what, like he actually played good there in the win. It is what it is. So, but yeah, I hope he plays. I think the fact that they flexed that game to 325 over Bengals and Eagles is pretty impressive. When you consider it's two rookie quarterbacks that they're putting in there instead of Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts. So, yeah, we'll see. My biggest thing for this week, obviously, I want the Bears to win, but I want to see Montez Sweat get going too. Hoping we get a little revenge game, former team bump from him, and he kind of, goes and makes his presence felt quite a bit. But I'm talking about, I want the Bears to do this, I want the Bears to win, yada yada yada. Some concern for the Bears. Jaquan Brisker still in concussion protocol. Not quite sure what his status is going to be for the week.
Historically, he takes longer to recover from concussions than like your average player, so he's in question for this game. So is Kyler.
I was going to say, I know there was another injury too. I don't know if Tyreek Stevenson's back. I haven't paid attention to any of the injury reports, if they've put him out yet. But
I haven't seen anything that says he wouldn't play, so I'm guessing he's. Yeah.
Bears got a little banged up defensively, but hopefully the extra time off will get these guys back on the field because I mean Brisker especially really need him back. He's kind of turned into an integral part of the defense, but
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully Jayden plays and it'll be a treat for NFL fans. So. With us being so excited about it and hyping it up, both quarterbacks will probably have like a combined eight interceptions, and it'll be a 10-3 game.
Seriously. Yeah, I hope Jayden plays just because it's, like give the people what they want, but that the Commanders are going to look out for his best interest long term. So
Yeah,
my gut tells me he probably won't play. I hope that that's not the case, but at the end of the day, like really all I give a shit about is the Bears coming out with a win because this is a very winnable game for them regardless. If Jayden Daniels isn't a quarterback, the Bears can still win this game. So that's what matters to me most is like whoever's injured, who's not, if he's out, if he's in. I just want to see Caleb play well, and I want to see the Bears come away with a win.
you talk about the NFC North and how tough of a division it is. The Bears got this game, so they're at Washington. Then they're at Arizona. We'll be there for that. Shout out to us. And then they play the Patriots at home. In my opinion, those are 3 winnable games from the Bears. 3 games that they should win. And I bring up the NFC North because their next 3 games after that, home versus Green Bay, home versus the Vikings, at Detroit. And then, I mean, I can keep going. At San Francisco, at Minnesota, home versus Detroit. Like, it is going to be a seismic shift in opponents after these next few weeks. So, let's let the offense keep clicking. Let's let Caleb keep playing well, keep gaining confidence, keep improving week by week, and not think ahead of your upcoming opponents, but know like, hey, this is the NFL. Every week matters. Let's get the wins that we're supposed to before we got some gritty and tough games coming up.
And I think if you go into that stretch at 7-2, like you win these next 3 games, go into that stretch at 7-2, that allows the freedom to, have a couple hiccup games and still be okay. But if you go in 6-3 or you go in 5-4, you better win some big games in that stretch. So, at the very least, I would love to see them go in 6-3, no less, but 7-2 would be really nice. So, that's it, guys. That's like I said, we didn't really have too much for Chicago sports. White Sox aren't playing right now. Cubs, we don't talk about those losers. Blackhawks, not a whole lot going on there. But
the Blackhawks did have one thing worth mentioning today. Rookie first-round pick Artem Levshunov came back from his foot injury, was taken off the IR and assigned to the Rockford Ice Hogs. So we will be getting to see him on the ice pretty soon.
Awesome. Okay, cool. That'll be sweet.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Well, that's it. That's all we have this week. Thanks again for tuning in. We will be back next week with episode 21. And until then, y'all take care.